got some breaking news here. The Las Vegas Raiders just traded away a wide receiver Davante Adams to the New York Jets. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on what this trade is, how the Raiders could potentially take that third-round pick that they got from the New York Jets, and what it's going to take to turn that into a second-round pick. And I know that a lot of people hear me just go third-round pick, but there is something very important to note in this trade, and we're going to break all of that down here on today's show. But this is why y'all subscribe. If you're sick and tired of hearing about the Davante Adams trade rumors, hit that subscribe button. If you're just now looking forward to the future of the Las Vegas Raiders, hit that subscribe button. At the end of the day, I want players. I want dudes that want to be a member of this team. And yes, this was a bad marriage. Davante deserves blame. The Raiders organization deserves blame. But sometimes you need a healthy divorce, and I think that this is a divorce that works out for Davante and it works out for the Las Vegas Raiders. So here is the trade details, and I want to know from the nation down below, grade the trade, A, B, C, D, or F. The Jets, they get Tay. The Las Vegas Raiders, they get a conditional 2025 third-round pick that can become a second-round pick. So there's two things that you need to know about this trade. The first thing that you need to know is this compensation, which Adam Schefter ended up breaking down. So essentially, for the Raiders to get that third-round pick turned into a second-round pick, two things need to happen, or one of the two things need to happen. First, Adams must be a first or second team All-Pro, okay? AP All-Pro. Or Davante's got to be on the active roster for the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. And I know that it's not going to be easy for a lot of Raider fans probably to root for another team in the AFC, but I'll look at it like this. If the New York Jets make it to the Super Bowl, we get a second-round pick, and the Kansas City Chiefs can't three-peat. As far as I'm concerned, that's something that I would like. The other really important part of this is the Jets took on 100% of Davante's contract, and that's really important because if you're the Raiders, you're looking forward to next year. You want to have that salary cap, and right now it's reported that the Raiders are going to have somewhere around $80 million in salary cap space next season. You're getting some extra draft capital. That extra draft capital is hopefully going to help you go out and get a Cam Ward, Jalen Milroe, whatever that future franchise quarterback. Maybe it's Shedeur Sanders. We know how much Mark Davis likes him. But for the Jets, they're taking on the entirety of his contract in 2026, in 2025, all of it in 2024, millions upon millions of dollars. And I know that we wanted Davante to work, but we don't have that franchise QB yet. And it does not make sense to pay a receiver $44.1 million in 2025 and in 2026 unless you have that QB. Quite frankly, it doesn't even really make sense to have Davante on our current team because Davante is not a fit with this team. Are the Raiders better with Davante in a certain scheme? Sure. But if you also have a wide receiver that's out there being a little bit of a diva, not wanting to block and kind of quitting on his team, kind of what you've seen even a guy like George Pickens do for the Steelers, that's not a healthy relationship that you want in this locker room. And hearing from players, hearing from coaches on the Raiders, everybody is very happy and at ease that Davante is no longer part of this team. This situation sucks. It does suck. But I'm also a kid. My parents are divorced. But you know what? I know that those two, they love me very much. But it was a healthy thing for both of them. This is a healthy divorce for Davante, and it's a healthy divorce for the Las Vegas Raiders. So how about this, y'all? Who won the trade? Let me know down below. If you think it's the New York Jets, type Jets. If you think it's the Las Vegas Raiders, I want you to type Raiders. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. I want you to scroll on down while you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break and give me your honest opinion. Who won the trade, Jets or Raiders? My answer coming up right now. I'm going to sit up here and say that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to be the team that ends up winning this trade because if you're the Jets and you make a deal for Davante, okay? You're making a deal for Davante to go out there and go to the AFC Championship game this season, to go out there and go to the Super Bowl this season. I really don't think that that's going to happen. I'm not going to lie. So with that being said, the Raiders only got a third-round pick. The reason why, though, I do think that the Raiders are a little bit of a winner here in this situation is because Adam Schefter reported yesterday that not a single team was willing to give the Raiders anything more than a fourth-round pick, and that was if that team was also not going to take on full contract. So I think what you saw here is the Jets met in the middle, the Raiders met in the middle. The Jets win this trade because they end up getting Davante back. The Raiders end up winning this trade because you finally get to move on. The team took on the entirety of his contract, and you do have a chance to get a second-round pick. I'll admit I don't see the Raiders getting a second-round pick because I don't see AP or I don't see Davante becoming that AP first or second team receiver with the amount of games that he's already missed. And I don't see a 2-4 Jets team going to the AFC Championship game, and I don't see them going to the Super Bowl. But the breaking news here live on the Raiders Report, we got over 3,700 people watching our live show. And if you're not watching this live, make sure you pull up. We're going to be here all day. We're going to be breaking down multiple shows around Davante replacements. We're going to go with live reactions to Raider Nation. But the fact that the Jets have traded for Davante, a deal that has been in the works for months. This is where Davante wanted to go. Aaron Rodgers and Tay have been talking for a long time, which has been well reported, and the Jets are taking on the entirety of his salary. We got some more Davante Adams trade discussions to get into because we did just get a little bit more of an update. I'll tell you what that update here is in just a moment. But our show sponsor today is Game Time. And if there's any Raider fans out there that are planning on going to Raiders and Rams at SoFi, hopefully you download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code ChatSports, that's ChatSports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. If there's any fans that are Dodgers fans and you're like, hey man, I want to go to a Dodgers game, I want to go to a Mets game out in Citi Field, maybe you want to watch it in LA, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports. The reason why you should do it, you can see your seats on the app, the lowest price guaranteed, that last-minute tickets, the flash deals, but you got to check out the Game Time picks. This is where you're going to be able to see the best deals available at whatever event you're going to. Maybe you got plans going to the Raiders and Chiefs game in Week 8. I'll be out there in that weekend. And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to be for that game on Sunday. What can I do on Friday? What can I do on Saturday? Download the Game Time app and look on the app. See what type of events are going on, and last-minute tickets, you're going to be able to save a lot of money, which I know is really important for everyone going out to Vegas because the prices keep going up, and it's up, and it's up, and it's up. Download Game Time today. So, again, here is the update from the Las Vegas Raiders, and this is also from Jordan Schultz. The Jets and Raiders were in very deep discussions on this Davante Adams trade prior to the game last night. Per sources, it will be done and sealed later today once Adams passes a physical. If you do not know, Davante Adams is already at the Jets facility. So this has been in the works, and apparently that this was already known that it was going to be done. Davante right now is already in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Davante is already right now at the Jets facility, and if he ends up passing his physical, which I know he's been dealing with the hamstring injury, I'm going to imagine that hamstring is going to be okay. That physical is going to end up getting passed, and this deal will be officially official by the end of today. The other really important thing I think for the Jets in this situation is they made the trade today, and for those of you that don't remember, last week I was saying that I was told on Tuesday, last week, October 8th, that the Raiders were going to trade Davante to the New York Jets. That did not happen, and I don't care what anybody says. That didn't happen because of the Robert Saleh situation getting fired. Davante canceled a show on Kay Adams. Aaron Rodgers canceled his show on the Pat McAfee show. And I think because that ended up happening and because the Jets lost on Monday Night Football last night, you put all of those things into that situation, and this trade was definitely going to end up going down today. So again, Davante goes to the Jets. Third-round pick here can turn into a second, and it's just simply got to come down to he's got to figure out a way. The Jets got to figure out a way to get him the rock, and I hope that they do that job getting him the rock, and I hope if they don't make the first team or second team All-Pro, I'll say it right now, I hope the New York Jets go to the AFC Championship game, and if you told me right now the Jets end up going to the Super Bowl, I'm fine with that. Chiefs aren't winning 3 in a row, and we get a second-round pick. So let's now talk about the Raiders' wide receiver room without Davante Adams, because it does look a lot different, and I'll be very bluntly honest. This is one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the National Football League. I think Jakobi is a good receiver, but I don't view him as a top 25 receiver in the NFL. And then after that, there is a lot of other players that are a little bit unknown. I like Trey Tucker. I like DJ Turner. Christian Wilkerson, Tyreek McAllister and then also Alec Bachman. You look at all of those players in there, and there's not two DJ Turners, in case y'all are wondering. It's just we made the graphic on the fly. But going into the game last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? Going into that game last week against Pittsburgh, the Raiders' starting wide receivers had a combined 43 career catches. So if I'm Luke Getsy, if I'm Antonio Pierce, if I'm this offensive staff, I got to be able to figure out a way to get some of these guys a little bit more integrated in this game plan. Maybe it's some more wide receiver runs. Maybe it's a lot more pre-snap motion. Luke Getsy's going to have a big time challenge. But you know what? There are certain players now that, let's face it, they got to go out there and they got to step up. First player that I'm looking at here that needs to step up with Davante no longer here, it's DJ Turner. And the Raiders are going to use Turner a little bit more now, where I think this puts Trey Tucker kind of in that second wide receiver position. Turner's going to get more opportunities in terms of just getting on the field, using some of that pre-snap motion. And let's face it, there's not a single player on the Raiders that you're going to be able to just insert into the lineup and go, all right, that is the guy that can end up replacing Davante Adams. It's not going to happen. It's a collective effort. It's going to take everybody to do their job and to be able to go out there and execute their plan is being done the right way. For Turner, he's going to get more opportunities. I'm going to use him a little bit more in the pre-snap reads. I think this also could put a little bit more of a stress on maybe now Trey Tucker's got to take a bigger role as a receiver. Maybe DJ Turner's will use a little bit more at special teams. Another player that needs to step up, it's going to have to be Harrison Bryant. With no Michael Mayer, and we still don't know when that guy's going to end up being back, prayers up to Mayer. This means more tight end use out of the Las Vegas Raiders, and Harrison Bryant's going to have to block a little bit more. But I also think it's because if I was Las Vegas, I'm using Brock Bowers now more as a receiver than what I've done leading up to this point. We know Bowers is that dude. Bowers already looks like he could be the best tight end in the National Football League as it stands right now. But because you lost Tay, I would like to see Bowers used kind of more as a receiver, just a little bit more, which then means you got to use Harrison Bryant as your typical maybe tight end one. Just a little bit more that you would use. John Samuel Schnecker is going to have to step this one up here a little bit as well. We still got more players to get to in terms of who needs to step up now that Davante Adams has been traded to the New York Jets. Another name, here we go, Trey Tucker, the third biggest name that needs to step up. One of the things that drove me and the nation absolutely positively insane was that Davante did not want to block. Trey Tucker was a wrestler in high school, and he comes from that wrestling pedigree. And even though he is a smaller, undersized receiver, you can see the want. You can see the desire to go out there and try to maul some of these NFL players. And I don't care who you are growing up. I was told two things. You don't fight with a wrestler. You don't fight with a farmer. Those are the two things right there. And Trey Tucker is a wrestler. I don't know if he's got cauliflower ears, but I'm not getting anywhere near that guy. And you've seen Tucker do a little bit more this season. Yes, the yards per catch are a little bit down, but the targets are up. The receptions are there. And I want to see Luke Getsy figure out ways to get the ball in this guy's hands. I know that he's not big like Deebo Samuel, but if I was Las Vegas, I would try to figure out ways to use Trey Tucker, kind of the way San Francisco uses Deebo in terms of just putting the ball in his gut. Because when the ball's in his gut, he's an electric player. Let's go to number 2 here on the list. It is Jakobi Meyers, and it might surprise some people that I don't have Jakobi ranked as the number 1 most important player that needs to step up now that Davante has been traded. But Jakobi's going to be Jakobi. He is battling a little bit of an issue right now for an injury. AP is hoping that he's going to be able to play this week, and I'll be curious to see what Antonio Pierce says today. I would imagine that he does a random press conference, or maybe he just shows up on Wednesday and does one. But Jakobi now has an opportunity to show the entire NFL world and maybe show a lot of the doubters as well, hey, I could be a number 1 receiver. And I'll say that I don't want Jakobi to be that prototypical 1, but Jakobi is a very good 2 on a lot of NFL teams. He's a good blocker. He's not a diva, which I do think is important here, because Davante didn't want to do a lot of the things. He didn't want to do a lot of the dirty work. Jakobi's going to go out there, and he's going to do that, and he's going to be a leader while he does it with a big old smile on his face. But Jakobi now has got to be able to step up, because he's now that outside receiver, and he's going to get more one-on-one opportunities, and he's got to be able to figure out ways to pick up those clutch third downs, to be able to pick up those clutch red zone opportunities. But the number 1 player that needs to step up the most here for the Raiders, and it's not that he hasn't already done a phenomenal job, but if I was Luke Getsy, if I was Antonio Pierce, if I had any say whatsoever of who is going to be the biggest player that is going to replace Davante Adams, to me, it is Brock Bowers. And it's going to be hard to replace Tay. But what you got to consider is that target share. And going into the season, think about how many targets you projected Davante to end up having overall for this season. I'll be honest, I don't know if those stats are right. But when you thought about how many targets that he was going to end up getting, right, from top to bottom, Davante, now you got to be able to sporadically take those targets and you got to put them in a lot of different areas. And to me, Jakobi's going to get his lion's share. Trey Tucker's going to get his. DJ Turner's going to get his. Harrison Bryant's going to get his. Michael Mayer is going to get his. Tyreek McAllister, Alec Bachman. It's going to take a collective effort. But if the one player you told me who is the only player on this team right now on the offensive side of the football that legitimately I think deserves to get 10 targets a game, 10 legit targets a game. I don't care if it's first down. I don't care if it's third down. I don't care if we're in the red zone. It's Brock Bowers. And Bowers is up for the challenge. Bowers is that dude. If you haven't seen how good this young man is yet, and I know how frustrating this Raiders offense has been, I get it. But Brock Bowers is already one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And I think at the end of this season, we're going to sit there and go, is Brock Bowers already one of the best tight ends that this organization could potentially have? And I know that's a crazy thing to say out loud. He can run block. He can pass block. He can line up as a tight end. He can line up as an H-back. He can line up in the slot. He can line up out wide. What you're able to do with a player like Bowers really opens up an offense. And let's face it, we need this offense to be opened up as much as humanly possible. Other players here that I'm going to look at that need to step up: Alexander Mattison, Amir Abdullah. No disrespect to Dylan Lowby, but it's got to be these two guys going forward. And damn it, I want to see more out of Alexander Mattison. Madison's done a great job already this season, but he needs to be getting the lion's share of carries. He needs to be the back that's getting 75, 80% of the touches. Tyreek McAllister, that's a guy that's got legit 4.3 speed. Get him on the field. Make the defenders a little bit more tired. Put the ball in his gut once in a while. And then Christian Wilkerson, and again, I think you'd even add Alex Bachman. Now that Aidan O'Connell is this quarterback, he's going to be looking for anybody to be able to step up. And when a team makes a trade like this, the wide receiver room needs to be able to look at themselves as a collective unit and go, hey, it's time to step up. Let's go out there and do our thing. So sound off right now down in the comment section. Who needs to step up the most right now for the Las Vegas Raiders? And I know a lot of people are probably going to say it's going to be the offensive line, maybe Aidan O'Connell. I meant this more from a tight end, wide receiver, skill position standpoint. But hey, let me know down below who needs to step up the most for the Silver and Black. One more time here, we went live on the Raiders Report. We usually go live every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. But when breaking news happens, I promise you this: nobody has more commitment to excellence to being able to provide content to the nation than the Raiders Report. I want just win, baby. I want us to get back on the right track. And I know that this trade is a kick in the dick a little bit simply because I can remember when the Raiders traded for Davante and how much we celebrated, the hours that we celebrated. Davante saying that he watched our show and how crazy we got. But this is the right move for the Raiders. This is the right divorce that needed to happen. Davante goes to the New York Jets. The Raiders end up getting a third-round pick that could potentially turn into a second-round pick. Davante needs to be either a first or second team All-Pro, or the New York Jets have to go to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Davante, I appreciate what you've done for the Raiders Report. I wish that it could have worked out a little bit better, but I will applaud Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco for getting this deal done because it needed to end up happening. And now it's time to move forward here as an organization, and it's time to move forward here as a nation.